self-love is like my jam. Like it is one of the biggest things that I always say that because there's so many biggest things, but it's one of the biggest things to, I don't know, the foundation of your entire life, right? And for so long, I didn't have that. I didn't even have self-esteem. I didn't even know what the word was. That's how bad it was. I mean, I knew what it was, but I didn't have it. And one of the big things is putting yourself as a priority. And people have so many problems with doing that. And it's old programming. So I want to really talk to you about prioritizing yourself today. Like not today, every day, but I'm talking to you about that today. And I'm actually going to do a podcast on more topics that you can do into your self-love and what that actually looks like, right? Because everybody hears self-love and they're like, well, how do I do it? Well, I'm also going to give you the tools, but then you can go, well, that's uncomfortable. Well, it doesn't matter that it's uncomfortable. And prioritizing yourself is one of those things. Because what happens is, think about this. I know for me as a child growing up, there was a lot of like, oh my God, don't do that. That's so selfish. Oh no, you got to be thoughtful. You got to put family in front of you. You got to like all of these rules were given to you. Because if not, somehow or another, you're bad. You're wrong. There's something there. I'm here to tell you, let's unbox that because that is not true. Not true. If you are not your main priority over your family, over your kids, over your friends, over your job, over your everything, if you're not your main priority, every relationship that you have, it's not even going to be really fully solid, right? And it creates a level of codependency in many ways. It can create animosity because you're like, oh, well, I was gonna go for a walk, but you know what? You don't want me to go, or, oh, I'm not going to go, right? Suddenly you're putting your life on hold. And then what happens? Later on, you go, you're on my end of the other end of the camera, right? Because I have my sessions online. You're over there and you're going, oh my God, I feel so stuck and burned out. Like I'm just so tired. Well, of course you're tired because you're not putting yourself as a priority. People are not going to like it all the time. But what it does is it establishes that it's important. All right. So when you start to establish, let's say you have your workout morning or your journaling morning or your meditation or whatever it is that you're doing for you, right? And when people start to understand, and they might not in the beginning, and that's fine. That's why you got to hold your boundaries, right? That's why boundaries is a huge, huge part of this putting yourself as a priority. Self-love, boundaries, priority, one big happy family. Okay. Because what's going to happen is after a while, they're going to see that that's important that you take care of yourself. They can get their feelings hurt. They can be up in their headspace and go, well, God, I just wanted to spend some time with you. I mean, yeah, of course, within reason. I mean, be flexible to a point. But you can't disrupt you being your priority because then you're only pouring from this much of a cup for each person. See, when you're solid within yourself and you take that time to prioritize yourself, you're more engaging to other human beings. Right? So if I'm always giving and trying to people please and trying to do this and put myself last and making sure everybody's taken care of, well, then any energy that I have that I'm doing for you, it's like, it's out of an obligation and I'm kind of resentful and I don't tell you I'm resentful because I don't really know I'm resentful and I'm just exhausted. And I'm like, oh God, here we go again. Versus if I have myself as a priority and I'm engaging with you for 45 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, however long I'm spending time with you, I'm able to give you more of me because I'm whole. See, that's the thing that you're missing. Now, the flip side of that, we always got to flip side it, right? There's always two sides to the coin. You have to understand that when it comes to other people. It doesn't matter how you want it. You got to accept it how it is or not, but it's going to be what it's going to be, right? And if somebody else's priority for themselves rubs you some kind of way, it's bringing up something in you to heal. So you got to use that as a tool, right? So if someone putting themselves as a priority triggers you or irritates you, it's something that you have. Is it an abandonment? Is it an attachment? Is it an insecurity of some sort? It doesn't matter what it is, but identify and go, oh, okay, this is what that's bringing up, because you want to be able to respect someone's priority, right? Of being themselves. It's not being selfish, right? I don't know whoever invented that. We've all grown up that way. Typically, it's so deep. We got to deprogram that, right? Because it also shows other people, especially if you have small children, that this is your time. It sets a boundary that, hey, I need this time too. And it shows them that, you know what, it's okay for me to take that time. So that means you respect them too. It doesn't matter that they're children. Maybe they need that hour away from you, upstairs, somewhere else. Good. Respect that. Respect that. right? And so that's the whole thing. So you got to remember that in order to prioritize yourself, this guilt thing, no, we're not going to run guilt because you're putting yourself as a priority. If you're not peopling that day because that's what you need to recharge, then don't people that day. People don't have to like it around you, right? If you need your morning workout routine and you don't check your phone beforehand and somebody, and barring it being an emergency, right? Then they can wait. Sit them on ice. You don't have to answer that work email at 11 o'clock at night. It's okay. Wait till the next day. Stop letting all of these things trickle into you to distract you from yourself, right? Because sometimes dealing with yourself, sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes you're like, oh my God, I don't necessarily want to be my priority because then I have to deal with myself. Yes, you do. But your inner child deserves that and your tomorrow self deserves that. So of course, yes, that's what you do have to do. And remember that it's not up to anybody else to make sure that you are your priority. You get so concerned being somebody else's priority. You should never be anybody's first priority. No, sorry. You should be their second or third or whatever, wherever the chain is. They have to be their first priority. If you don't like that, then perhaps that's not the person for you. But you also have to check yourself and say, do I not like that because I am a little jealous that they can do that and I can't? Well, you can do it. You just have to allow yourself to be okay with people being a little annoyed in the beginning, especially because that is a boundary, right? That is putting yourself as a priority is a boundary. See, you know how we're always talking about like setting a boundary? Well, you're setting a boundary for everyone based on what your needs are. A boundary isn't for mom and the coworker and all of those things. A boundary is for what's in alignment with you. So when you're putting yourself as a priority, that is a boundary that says, you know what, every day from 7 to 8 a.m. I work out. All right. Don't interrupt me. Don't bother me. I'm not answering anybody. I'm not responding to anybody. It's not happening. That's okay. It's a boundary. They can try. My phone is always on silent. If I lose my phone, well, we'll just have to keep finding it. None of my stuff has alerts on it. None of my stuff has notifications on it. Right? I mean, text message on my phone. I don't get it on my watch. I don't see any of my social media alerts because it's not important to me. And the cool thing with any of your phones, Android or iPhone, you have your emergency contact, so you can put like because I have like a ringtone for each of my emergency contacts, which I only have 3 emergency contacts. Paul, my son, and my daughter. That's it. Right? They're my only emergency contacts. And that means if I'm working out or if I'm doing something, I will still hear their phone call or their alert. That's all I need. So if I'm not hearing that, everybody else can wait. Everybody else can go on ice. And I'm telling you that when you do that, it is one of the best things that you can give yourself, because how can you tell other people what it is that you need from them and want from them and in the relationship that you seek if you don't know yourself? Because see, if you don't know yourself, you're going to constantly look out at other people and say, I need you. You need to validate me. I need you in my life. I need you right here, right now. That's a good sign. Don't judge yourself for it. Don't do that. It's not what we're going to do. But I want you to look at that and go, okay, I need to really check myself. So a lot of your insecurities, yes, I get it. Childhood can be a really great, terrible place. Like I got it. I lived there, done it. Do not recommend the trip, right? But so it can make it harder. It can make it harder on you, more difficult. I don't like to say harder. Let's say a little bit more challenging, but you can do it. That's all the more need for you to do it, right? If you were raised in somewhat, I don't know, traditional kind of house where you didn't feel like you had a lot of trauma and all that stuff, you probably already have a level of self-love. Typically, people who are seeking self-love and self-esteem are the people who had it the worst as a child. That's why we need it more, right? We need that. And you have to be self-soothing. You have to be self-soothing. And in order to do that, you got to know yourself. You got to give yourself the reward of being your priority. It has to happen. It has to happen. Because if not, you're going to keep looking and needing that extra dollar, needing that extra job, needing that extra family, you can't do that. And while you might have heard family first, no, we're not doing that. It's you first. Everybody else around you is after you. And that is how it's got to be. Because if not, how can you even know what that is, what life is, what love is, if you're not giving it to yourself first? You can't fully be loved adequately and give love adequately until you understand what love is for yourself. And in order to do that, you must be your first priority. You have to be your first priority. So let's start that today. Let me know what some challenges are that you have with that. Undo that. What mom told you, what dad told you, what society told you. No, you are the only human who's going to live 100% of your life with you. Start loving that person by putting them first.